how to do it at home, and then I'll show you how to do it in a chair. So you're going to take a broom handle, a mop, stick, whatever you have, and you're going to be lying on the bed or the floor, and you're going to put it this way between your legs. Now, what I want to try to do is keep this bar straight, and I'm taking this leg and I'm pushing it this way, and I'm taking this leg and I'm pushing it this way. So I do this just for 5 seconds. And then I switch sides and I do it the other way just for 5 seconds. Do at least 3 sets on either side. 5 is better if there's no pain. And you're actually, if your pelvis is out of alignment, it's going to start to go back in. Sometimes you can notice the results immediately. The second thing, you can fold up a pillow if you do not have a ball, and all you're doing, back on the bed, you're squeezing the ball in hard for 5 seconds. Relax, 5 seconds, and do 3 to 5 sets of that. Those 2 movements will help you to realign your pelvis if there's an issue with it. Yes? No, you can do it on the floor as well, okay? Floor may be a little better, but not everybody can get on the floor. Do you have a camera on your phone?
Yes.
Okay, you want to take a picture? Good morning. So have a seat. So what we're doing is 2 moves that you can do at home, lying on the bed or on the floor, okay, to help realign your pelvis. So at home you can use a broomstick, mop handle, whatever. What's that?
That looks good. I like that exercise.
Yeah, it's nice because when our pelvis has a tendency from time to time that one side shift forward or back. It can also tilt forward or back. So this will realign it. So take your broomstick mop handle between the legs. You want to keep this straight. You don't want it going this way. And all I'm doing is taking this leg, pushing it back, this one pushing it forward, and we've got this. You're going to hold for 5 seconds, and then other direction. Everybody got it? The next one, you can take pillows or a ball. And once again, 3 to 5 sets of just 5 seconds. And all I'm doing is squeezing the ball. Relax. Squeeze the ball. 5 seconds. Relax. So these 2 moves are not going to take you a long time to do.
Sorry, can you put that one? Someone called and then my camera doesn't work. Sorry.
The second one?
Yeah. Couldn't figure out why someone called. It's 1 week thing with the phone.
So all I'm doing is squeezing the ball with my knees. And I can actually feel that in the sacroiliac joints. But once again, nice move. Now we can do these here in class, modified version. Remind me to show you a picture after class. sit, find your pelvic point, pull it in. Love the sitting posture, all of you. As soon as I said pelvic point, everybody was like, boom. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to think about taking the right foot and pushing it down on the floor. And this one, kind of pushing against the weight of our hands going up. This is going down, this is going up. Hold your pelvic point. I feel it right in the sacroiliac joints. You do as well? How are you, by the way? Good. Other side. Pushing into hands here, pushing into the floor here. Hold your pelvic point. Does everybody feel it back here?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Sit, find your pelvic point. And let's do it again. Push against the hands, push against the floor here. Hold the pelvic point. Other side. Good. Take a break. Anybody have any pain doing it?
I try not to breathe when I'm doing it.
Okay. Try to breathe when you're doing it.
But you're supposed to hold on your stomach then.
You want to take your pelvic point and pull it in because you want the pelvis to be aligned. But yeah, the best example I've heard as far as breathing is concerned is this physical therapist. He can put someone in a position, so say he can teach them to touch their toes, okay? So it's interesting. I have issues touching my toes, and for years I thought, well, my hamstrings are too tight in the back of your legs. That's what you're told, right? I can get that wedge, that black wedge we stood on, I can get on that with my toes higher than my heels
That's cheating.
and go to touch my toes with a ball between my legs, okay? And I can't get down there. So then he has you bend the knees to touch your toes just for psychological reasons. Do a few sets of that, then you put the wedge the other way so the heels are up and the toes are down. You do the same progression, you go to touch your toes, I couldn't get down there. I squeeze the ball with my knees, which turns off some muscles here. I bend a little, I can touch my toes. So I do that 3 to 5 times. Then I got off the wedge and just relaxed and tried to touch my toes, and I could put my palms on the floor. So the difference was like this, and all I did was confuse the heck out of my pelvis by doing it toes up first and then toes down the second time. Yeah, but it was the first time I did it, I was amazed. I couldn't touch my toes till the age of 50 from just all the weightlifting and not stretching. He didn't stretch in the 70s. And then I did it, and I did the 2 progressions, and then I went to touch my toes, and my palms were on the floor. And you see people all the time rolling out their hamstrings, because the hamstrings are too tight, that's why you can't touch. What is actually happening is the brain does not like the position you're in when you're going to touch your toes. So it turns on muscles automatically to keep you from doing it. Once you're on with the toes up and then the toes down, the body kind of gets confused. But getting to the breathing point, he says if you touch your toes and you're holding your breath doing it, you're just renting the position. He says if you can touch your toes and breathe while you're doing it, while you're down there, then you own the position. So always try to breathe in any of the movements. Okay, next thing. At home, you would use a ball or pillows. Here, you're just going to use your hands and squeeze the legs together, but you can't fight it with your hands. So you feel a little tension here. So that would be the same thing as squeezing a ball or a pillow at home. So set your pelvic point and try to pull in with the legs, fight a little with the hands, relax. Push in, fight a little with the hands. How many people feel it back here? No? You do? Yeah. You feel it a lot more lying down? but obviously we're not going to be lying on the floor today. And you can generate a lot more power too if you're squeezing a pillow or a ball and not fighting with your hands. Okay, anybody have any pain doing that? Okay. If anybody has questions about those two moves, shoot me off an email.
Thank you for the alternative.
What's that?
Thank you for the alternative to sitting in the chair.
Yep. It's better if you're lying on the bed.
But the alternative works too.
What's that?
The alternative is beneficial.
Oh, yes, yes. Yes. Well put. I always have my hands with me. Well put, yeah. Right, yeah.
What I learned in the spirit class is just imagination, imagining pressing your hips to the legs. I learned that.
It's interesting. I did a workout the other night where I was on a balance beam. And all I was doing was standing on the beam and breathing into it, getting relaxed with it. And then I did some walking on the beam. I did maybe 20 minutes of it. Next morning I woke up, my muscles on the inside of my thighs here were fried. And all I was doing was standing. But because I was here, these stabilizer muscles here and in here had to work to keep me from falling over. But it's
So
great.
were you on the balance beam way up or right near the floor?
No, it's a 2x6. Yeah, no, I'm not going way up. Definitely not. Okay, let's stand and find our pelvic points, please. About 3 inches below the navel, and you're pulling that into the spine. Really, really good posture. You look like you're ready to fight. Tough morning. Okay, let's do it again. But think about it. When you're standing like this, you do not look your age. Okay? I say it all the time. You can take 80-year-old identical twins, and one is like this, and one is standing like you people. Who's younger? It's a no-brainer. The other thing is, too, in this position, better breathing, better digestion, less stress on the spine. That's the best posture I've ever seen you have. It's funny, some of you, when you hit it just right, something happens with your arms. And you go into Schwarzenegger mode. Okay, let's do it again. Pelvic point, hold it in, bring it into the spine. Every time you do it, your upper body goes like this. That's great. You're looking taller as well. Okay, take a break. Give you 15 seconds. We'll do this again. Everyone still doing the homework? How's it coming? Good? I have to say, since our first class to last week in this class, your standing and sitting posture is much, much better. And that's a function of doing the homework and also being aware of it.
And it's the awareness there.
Yeah, awareness is huge.
big.
Awareness is huge. People will ask, like, what's the difference between different diets? Because some diets work for some people and they don't work for others. What every diet has in common is it makes you aware of what you're putting in your mouth. And the same thing with movement. Problem is with movement, we're not aware of it as kids because everything's working fine, you know? We start being aware of movement when we either have pain or we try to do something and we can't do it like we used to.
You know, you were talking about your grandson, right? That
Yep.
you were watching. My daughter is
Yep.
He sits straight up watching TV. I mean, it's like amazing. I was thinking of you when I watched him. I told my daughter that. I said, look at him, how he's sitting.
So I have a picture to show you for Zoom people. She brought up the point of 1.5-year-old sitting perfectly. And if you took the program where we were talking about sitting with a braced spine, you remember that one? Okay. So I was with my grandson yesterday. He's 6. Look at his spine. It's perfectly braced. Okay, you have not seen the picture, you have not seen the picture, you have not seen the picture. Come on up, because remember when I was going over sitting with a braced spine, so we brace here, and the spine does not have a curve in it? The spine's perfectly braced, and he's not even thinking about it.
That's exactly how the Cameron was sitting. It's like
Yeah, babies are the greatest instructors in movement that we have.
amazing.
They know how to do it perfectly. Yeah, I tell people all the time, if you have a chance to learn movement from a 9-month-old or learn movement from me, go the 9-month-old. Every time. Every time. But it's cool watching him because it's all the stuff that I've studied over the years, and babies just know it. Okay, pelvic point, one more time. Pull it in. Really good. Tough looking group. Okay, excellent. Let's go to sitting once again on our sit bones. So find your pelvic point and just get to the point so you can anteriorly tilt or posteriorly tilt the pelvis forwards and backwards until you find a spot. You just found it.
Oh, I thought you meant keep doing it. Yeah, I found it easy.
Yep. So you can do it just to free up the pelvis a little bit, but ideally what you're looking for is a sweet spot where you feel comfortable, there's no pain. So you obviously find it a lot better with the feet wider, which we discussed in the past, which is true. And once again, if you're sitting for a long period of time writing over the computer, if your feet are close, it's easy to do this. If your feet are wider, it's much more difficult to do that. So everybody's found their sweet spot? Any pain or fatigue? No? But think about it, sitting is what kills us. So if we can find a spot where we can sit and our pelvis is set, our spine is good, that's going to take a lot of pressure off the lower back. I think I may have mentioned my wife just bought another chair for the living room, and she sat on it, and it's so hard you sit on it, you don't sit in it. And she's like, this is the hardest chair I've ever felt in my life, I don't like it. And I sat on it, I said, oh, it's perfect. Yeah, it's mine now, exactly. Okay, now get a little long, okay? Kind of take the front of your rib cage and just pull it up like we used to. Now, do you feel the muscles? Wow, you got super long. Do you feel the muscles in your back starting to fire a little bit? So how long can we keep Linda in that position before she fatigues and collapses? Beautiful. Everyone feeling the muscles in the back firing, starting to fatigue a little bit? And once again, that's sad because of all we're doing is sitting. You know? Beautiful. Okay, take a break. And you all passed the test. You knew. So that was a test, because when I said take a break, I was waiting for someone to do this, and nobody did. You've taken way too many of my classes. You know me.
But again, it is
Right.
according to my point, and I was doing much better. Otherwise, I used to go like down by the end after a couple hours. I just didn't walk.
Excellent. Okay, Zoom people, just had a student say she was in the mall and in the past, there'd be lots of pain standing for a while. But now you assume the positions and there's less pain. Beautiful. And you can stand longer. Perfect.
Does it make a difference, Steve, keeping your feet back or sitting in
Excellent question. Okay, question is, sitting here, should you keep the feet backwards or forwards? Okay? First of all, when you're sitting, you want to be comfortable because already we're in a position which is we wouldn't consider to be comfortable compared to the way we usually sit. So as long as you're balanced and comfortable and you can find the sweet spot on your sit bones where to sit, makes no difference. But when you go to get up, you want the heels closer to the hips. This is where we're generating the power. If my heels are out here, you have to launch to get up. So you can have them wherever you want, wherever you're comfortable with. Once again, the wide stance is really good if you get used to it. So when I'm at one of my desks in my office, I sit on a Swiss ball. So it's a big ball, it's about this high. So you have one as well? So when I'm sitting on that, my feet have to be wide because if they were close, the ball would start to roll. But it forces me to sit straight because there's no back on the Swiss ball. But when you're going to get up, if you're comfortable here, which is fine, and actually you'll find as you move your feet, the farther you move your feet out, the more your abdominals have to engage. Why don't you try that? So bring your feet in close to the chair, and now walk them out long. Now assume the sitting position, and I'm feeling it more here now, as opposed to here. I don't know if you guys are or not.
And you don't sit as comfortable, it's how can you get your sweet spot?
Right, exactly, it's hard to get your sweet spot. So that's the most important thing. Find your sweet spot. But if it's with your feet out here, when you get up, you want to bring the heels closer to the hips, because now we're generating the power. Okay, make sense? Okay, good. Okay, now we're going to do everyone's favorite, the vacuum. Okay, stand up, please. Now, the cool thing about the vacuum is it takes our pelvic point and automatically brings it in. It also reinforces the muscular structure around the pelvis to help us stay in that position. You're not particularly fond of it? It is hard. It's really hard. What we're doing is we're taking a muscle called the transverse abdominis, which is our human girdle, and we're firing it 360 degrees, which is what we want. So pelvic point, big breath, blow it out hard, and suck in the vacuum. Nice. You still feeling it in the leg?
No,
Good, because you were before, right?
but I do this before.
Excellent. Okay. So, take a break. We're going to do a few more of these. So, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, you would do it and you'd feel a tightness right here going down to the leg. And that's one of your hip flexors coming up here. But if you're doing it all the time, that's why you're not feeling it anymore. That's excellent. That's excellent. So you pretty much turned off that muscle, which is good because it's one of the muscles that get tight when we sit. Okay, let's do it again. Big breath through the nose. Blow it out. And then in with the vacuum. That was seriously good. Just out of the corner of my eye, I saw your abdominals go boom. Excellent. Take a break. Final exam next week while you're doing the vacuum. I'm just going to walk by and whack. If you can do that, yes. And then you'll have to post bail so I can get out of jail. Okay. Again, feet parallel, nice and long, breath through the nose. Blow it out hard. And vacuum. Pull everything in. That was seriously, seriously good. So some of you, take a break, hit the vacuum so hard now, I see your rib cage just go boom, like this. That's awesome. That means all the muscles are firing.
It goes much easier now, it almost goes automatically.
Yes, exactly. It almost goes automatically. Because what we've done when we were kids, our human girdle was firing all the time. We didn't have to think about it. Then we sat down for 40 years, and this all went to sleep. Now that we're starting to activate it, it's waking up. And then after a while, like everything else we do, it's going to start to do it on its own. And one of the reasons it's going to do it on its own, because it likes the feeling of it. Human body would much rather stand like this than like this. It takes more energy to stand like this than like this. All we have to do is wake up the muscles. And that really doesn't go away unless there's a neurodegenerative problem, because I have maybe 50, 60 people in their 90s and one 100-year-old that we've woken up the muscles. So we always have that muscle memory. All we have to do is make the connection. Okay, one more time, pelvic point. And hit the vacuum. Excellent. Sit down, take a break. It's amazing. I have to watch my language here. But your posture is like badass. When you hit the vacuum, everybody just goes boom, like this. It's amazing. You know how in the animal kingdom, you could have some animals, if they perceive a threat, go into some posture, like some lizards will like bellow out and their throats come out. Or if they're trying to attract members of the opposite sex, like a peacock, male peacocks. Be interesting, if you're ever in a threatening position, or if you see a guy that you like, just boom, hit the vacuum. Just like in the animal kingdom. Yeah? Yeah, if you're ever out with like the girls and someone says, oh, that guy's cute, just hit a vacuum and see if he comes over and talks to you. I think I'm losing my mind. Okay, to the side of your chairs, please. Once again, the pelvis has two halves. You can get kind of frozen from sitting. That's why we started doing the stick and the ball. And once again, try to do that if you can every day. It's only going to take you like 3-4 minutes, and let me know how you feel next week. For some people, you'll actually feel a release back here around the sacrum and the sacroiliac joints. Okay, so we're bringing the knee up, and then up and back, and all we're doing, we're trying to stay long. Hold your pelvic point. So it's a pretty short movement, but we're just trying to get the two halves of the pelvis to move independently. Okay, other side. So once again, it's a short movement. We're keeping the knee bent. You may find, after you've done it for a while, that the movement becomes a little longer. either because the pelvis is starting to loosen up or your hip flexors are toning down a little bit. So let's try it again, other side. That's absolutely ridiculous. Uh-huh. Now, the cool thing about feeling like a pendulum is a pendulum swings like the body's supposed to. So you can have your 1.5-year-old do this, and it would flow. It would swing like a pendulum. When we do it, we have all these tiny little parking brakes that we get to a certain position and it feels like it's pulling on it or whatnot.
I feel it this leg. Feel it.
Doing that side, you feel it here in this leg?
Yes.
Okay. Just like you. When you're doing that, we're taking this and bringing it. So where do you feel it in this leg? Right there. When you're coming up or back? Try it.
I feel it all over here.
Yes. So that's one of the muscles in the quadriceps. So you're feeling it in the front.
Yes.
Okay, that's one of the muscles in the quadriceps. Carol had the same issue. Attaches to the knee, attaches here to the pelvis, and it has a tendency to get short and tight, and when we do this movement, you're lengthening it, and that's why you're feeling it there. But the fact that, do you feel it on the other side?
No.
Okay, so that's an asymmetry, which we all have. One side, for whatever reason, your rectus femoris is tight, on the other side it's not. That could be a shift in the pelvis, it could be something to do with the spine, it could be a foot and ankle issue. But the fact that you've noticed that, now you have something to work on, where you can say, okay, I'm going to do it just on this side and see if this loosens up. If this loosens up, you may notice that you're walking a little differently, all sorts of things. Okay, let's try this again. Other side. Can you do the right side again, please? Yeah. And the left side? So you go back really far on the right side, but you go back even farther on the left side. So when you go back on the right side, do you feel it here? Or do you feel it at all? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, sit down, take a break. For those of you who weren't here super early, the next program I'm doing is going to be strictly posture. And I'm taking pieces from all sorts of different programs that I've done and some new things. We're going to work on posture in the lumbar spine, posture in the thoracic spine, and posture in the cervical spine. That's what the 6 weeks is going to be about. Ideally, we'll get you in a position, and I will give you pictures of what a normal spine is supposed to look like, and that is going to be the goal. It would not surprise me. Does anybody have a physical coming up in the next couple of months? You do, okay. Do they check your height? They do not, okay.
I won't let them. Because I know how tall I am, really tall.
Okay,
I probably too disordered, but
because before COVID hit, I had 14 students who were a half-inch taller than they were in the previous year's physical. Simply by doing the getting along part. This, I would expect at least some change in height by the end of the program, simply because we're going to be creating space between the vertebrae. And then we're gonna train the muscles to hold the new position.
Well, you can always measure yourself, right?
You could. You could.
Follow the law and
See, I had a dream that all the doctors in Massachusetts were gonna have a big meeting to find out why seniors were getting taller. I was hoping to have like thousands of seniors taller than last year, and we wouldn't say a word. Okay. To the sides of your chair, we're just gonna do the one-legged bit of a lunge here. If you have knee issues, take a step backwards as opposed to a step forwards. Your balance is much, much better. You know how I can tell? Because if your balance is tough, when you go back, the body's going to ask you to turn the foot this way, like Natalie's is. Because in this position, balance is an issue. If I bring the foot out, now I have broader base of support on the rear leg. Your feet are both parallel. Really good. Okay, other side, please. Now, I was just watching your feet and ankles firing to keep you upright because you're not holding the chair. You're going to notice that if you do this, just like when I was on the balance beam, you're going to feel it through here too. It's a tremendous abdominal stabilizer workout.
are you supposed to, put your navel in?
The pelvic point, yes. So the closer, the more narrow your feet are, the more difficult it is. But I'm not necessarily looking for that right now. Okay, other side. Okay, so some of you are taking longer strides now because you're getting more comfortable. Keep in mind, pelvis is two halves. We're just kind of shifting a little bit. We're trying to get it to shift a little bit. Your balance is so much better. First time we did this, your rear foot was out and you were holding the chair. Now you feel a lot more comfortable. That's excellent. Other side, please.
But I, doing this, I really, feel it in my,
Because of discrepancy in the leg length, or no?
probably.
Okay? Because I feel this in the SI joints as well, your sacroiliac joints. Keep in mind, if you remember the pictures that I gave you at the beginning of the class, the beginning of the program, your sacroiliac joints, their main job is to transfer upper body weight to the lower body and vice versa. What are we doing in this position? We're doing a weight shift, and that's what the SI joints do, and that's why you're feeling. I feel it there as well. Now pull in the pelvic point and get long. Exactly. Excellent point. Her point was she doesn't feel it in the sacroiliac joints as much because once we get long, we're taking the upper body weight off the lower body a little bit. Okay, other side. That's why we had a woman here and another woman in Foxborough who had limps from previous hip surgeries that when they walked long, the limp went away. As soon as they stopped walking long, the limp came back. But I remember here it was funny because there's two friends in the class and they walk together every morning. They've done so for years. And when her friend with the hip issue started walking long, she was like, "You're not limping, you're not limping." It was really cool. Anybody feel any pain here? Any pulling on one side as opposed to the other? A little bit more on the left. Yep. And once again, those are asymmetries which we all have. One side functions a little differently than the other. unless you're a baby. Kids are driving me crazy. Okay, sit down and take a break. So I may have mentioned last week, I would love to put together a program with seniors and babies in the same class. And you just hang out on the floor together for an hour. Not only would it be fun, we'd learn so much. I just got to get like 12 moms to give up their babies for a couple of hours. I'll have you guys ask. Okay. Once again, we're going to take right foot, push it into the ground. This one we're pulling out, pushing against our hands. Let's get the top.
This will pull it up, right?
Right foot, push into the ground. Get your pelvic point. Now this one, pull up against the hands. Hold your pelvic point. Everyone feeling this? Okay, other side. Good. Now actually this is probably the best way to do this. Tighten up your arms, and now pelvic point, and then push the legs in. Anyone feeling this in the SI joints or in the lower back?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. You're going to have so much to do in class with all your different moves that you're working on. And I loved your story about the 4-year-olds wanting to roll.
I love it.
Yeah.
I can't do it if it's like full class. But when a lot of children have gone home.
Yep.
So can we roll now, Miss Carolyn? Okay.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, she's a class of 4-year-olds and they love to roll.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then we hit a certain age where it's no longer cool. But I have a 74-year-old who loves it. Drives her daughter crazy. She's crawling underneath the coffee table, and her daughter, who's 47, is like, "Mom, please don't." It just, she can't make the connection of her mother being on the floor crawling around. Okay, let's do it again. Pushing the right foot into the floor. This one we're pushing against the hands. Hold your pelvic point. Other side. Okay, arms straight, elbows straight, squeeze in against the arms. So for this one, put your heels on the floor, please. Bring your feet in a little bit. And now squeeze. This is a lot easier this way with the arms, right? As opposed to this. And squeeze. Okay, good, take a break. Okay, let's revisit everyone's favorite, the vacuum. Stand up, please. Do you notice, since we've been doing this program, that maybe a tad easier getting out of a chair? Yeah? Okay, good. Because once again, we're taking this whole area and we're getting all the muscles and we're waking them up. So now they're more active, and in turn, when your brain says, "I have to get up," it sends messages to say, okay, we have to perform these joint actions to do this, and now the muscles are ready because we've woken them up. Nice and long, pelvic point, deep breath, blow down forcefully, vacuum, damn. I feel like a drill sergeant at boot camp, and I have like the perfect graduating class. Okay, take a break. Nobody falls for it. Just waiting for someone to like,
So we can get that grade.
that's right. I still have the same thing. I'll walk into a class and people are talking and they see me come in and all of a sudden everybody's like, it's like the principal walking into detention.
That's the old days.
That's the old days?
Have it propane tank.
Oh, I know. I remember reading in the 50s, the biggest problems teachers had with kids, chewing gum, slamming doors, and talking in class. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Okay, nice and long. Pelvic point. Deep breath. Blow it out forcefully and hit the vacuum. That ass group. Pardon my language. But you are.
Shouldn't
Huh?
laugh. Say laugh because it hurts.
Okay. Now I'm going to take a break and we're going to try the vacuum again. We're going to hold it, but I want you to breathe during the vacuum. Okay? And this is crucial because otherwise we're just renting the position, we don't own it. Nice and long pelvic point. Deep breath through the nose into the belly. Blow out and hit the vacuum. Now hold the vacuum and take a couple of steps. So don't release the vacuum. God, it's like a zombie apocalypse. Everybody's like this. Okay. Hold the vacuum slightly, but little breath through the mouth. But hold the vacuum. Have you taken a breath yet?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, sit down and take a break. The reason I said take the breath through the mouth is because when we breathe through the mouth, it goes more into the chest. Okay, if we breathe through the nose, it goes to the diaphragm, and we are contracting the diaphragm when we're doing a vacuum. That was good, though. The only thing was, when I said take a few steps, everybody was like this. That was the zombie apocalypse. I said, no! All right, I'm going to give you a break.
It's funny because when I get a pain, I just stop and think a minute, now what position do I have to assume to get rid of that pain?
That's wonderful.
And it works.
That's wonderful.
You know,
And it works.
this muscle here,
Yep, yep.
having pain,
So Zoom people, Stu just said when she has a pain somewhere in her body, she just figures out what position she should be in, assumes that position and the pain goes away. You were talking about awareness earlier. That's exactly it. And the problem is we don't become aware of our movement patterns until we're having problems with our movement patterns.
The other problem is you're aware of everybody else's too. And you want to correct them, but you have to be kind of politically correct about it.
Okay, that is awesome. That is awesome. Stu just said the problem is she notices other people's movement problems. So think about what you just said. Not only are you aware, but you're aware of everybody else's movement problems, which makes you hyper-aware, which is great, which is absolutely great. Though you can take it too far. I mean, I'll be having lunch or dinner with my wife, and I'll say, oh, that guy has really bad ankle dorsiflexion. And she's like, can we just please eat, please? Okay, so don't take it that far. But that's great that you notice that. Because if you're noticing other people, then you're hyper-aware of your movement programs. And that's the first step. That's the first step. Very much so. That's why normally, if you remember the old classes before COVID, I would have semicircle with the chairs. So everybody could see what everybody else was doing. And it was amazing, like week 3, 4, 5, people would say, oh, I remember when you first started and you're doing so much better. But obviously, we have to adhere to the COVID restrictions. Okay, find your sweet spot. I'm definitely gonna have to take a graduating class picture. You guys are beautiful. Find your pelvic point, pull it in. Hold the pelvic point and breathe. Once again, it's going to be easier if you do mouth breathing, because that's going into the chest, as opposed to nose breathing, which is going down here. Ideally, you want to get to nose breathing down here. The nose breathing? So do the nose breathing then. Yeah. Oh, it's much better to nose breathe. You know the difference between the two? Nose breathing and mouth breathing? Right, so your nose breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. So like before bed, you should make sure that you're doing nose breathing. Mouth chest breathing activates your sympathetic nervous system. So I use this analogy all the time. If you're walking to your car and all of a sudden you see a tiger walking towards you, you're going to become a mouth breather very, very quick. Okay? Because now you're getting, the body's trying to get oxygen into your muscles for the fight and flight reflex. Rest and digest, the body wants the blood down in here into the internal organs. Okay, get nice and long, hold your pelvic point. Now that was beautiful because I didn't see much movement when you did that, which means you were already in that position. Man, I gotta get harder tests. No one has their back against the chair. Okay, take a break. Damn. Is everybody good with the two new moves on the bed with a stick and pillow? You want to see them again, or? The sitting one? Okay. So once again, this is same as lying down, though the lying down one is better. Okay? What I'm doing is I'm taking this foot and I'm drilling it. I assume I have pelvic point. I'm taking this foot and I'm pushing it into the floor hard. Okay? Now here, I'm taking this knee and pushing it into my hands hard. Okay. And that is the same thing. So right now, this would be the foot pushing into the floor. This would be the foot or the knee pushing against my hands coming up. 5 seconds. So I can feel that right in the sacrum and the sacroiliac joints and the bones of the pelvis. But it's, once again, it's much better if you do it in the bed.
Can you do it lying down and do it this way?
Yes. So you can do it lying down. I just saw a video on this. So I'm here. So I'm pushing here backwards, and I'm pushing here forwards. It's a little bit more difficult to make a mind-muscle connection, but you can do it that way.
Does it make a difference that you have this stick in between your legs?
Yes. Yes. So once again, a broomstick, mop handle, anything you have. What's that?
What? Oh, plunger.
Plunger. That would probably work. Plunger. Okay, everyone stand, please. We're just going to finish up with some vacuumed breathing. And you will never, ever tell me before class that you're having a couple issues with the vacuum. You learned her lesson. Okay, nice and long. Pelvic point. Big breath through the nose into the belly. Blow it all out. Vacuum. Hold the vacuum and a little breathing. Damn. Hold the vacuum, keep pulling in, little breathing. I still can't see you breathing, I'm sure you are. So what would happen if you remember the class where we did the brace sitting? Okay, you can relax. And we would hold the brace, and I would say the secret is to be able to hold the brace somewhat and still function as a normal human being. Same thing with the vacuum. When we're working the brace, we're working what is called the rectus abdominis, our six-pack here. That protects our internal organs from threats. When we go into the vacuum, we're exposing the internal organs, but we're working our stabilizers, external obliques, internal obliques, transverse abdominis, and those are the ones that help us with balance. So throughout the course of the day, like you were saying, standing in line, doing different things, when you're at the mall, you can actually practice the brace, get tall, pelvic point, and then tighten up here, or you can practice the vacuum. And after a while, these muscles fire on their own, and life is beautiful. Okay? Tighten your glutes, yes. If you're ever lifting anything overhead, always tighten your glutes, because that's going to protect your lower back. All right, so let's do this one more time. Tighten the glutes. Get your pelvic point. Tighten the glutes. You'll notice when you hit your pelvic point, your glutes tighten a little bit anyway. Okay, now the brace, inhale, blow out halfway, and then tighten right here. You'll notice your rib cage came down about 1/4 of an inch, and you're rock solid right here. Okay, exhale, inhale, blow it out totally. Vacuum. So just a little bit of work we did with this. You should feel it a little bit through here. Yep. And then after a while, you'll just be like rock solid with a 30-inch waist. Yeah. Okay, that is it for today. So next week is the last class, I believe. Yeah, I'll double check with Sherry, but I believe next week is the last class. And then after that, once again, it's going to be for those interested, 6-week posture program, but we're breaking the posture down into lumbar spine, thoracic spine, cervical spine. And I would assume the majority of us will be taller, anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 an inch, and I'm not exaggerating that. You've seen it.